Well, it depends on how heavy speaking.
I would.
Radio's on a kid.
She's the president.
Oh, they,
Where's the one in Athens?
I get them from all the
They'll usually put them down in a big can and then send the can the edge of the buses down there. With Janet.
I'm
Candidates, and maybe they could just wave and we can clap after everybody is introduced, and then they will sit down, and then our keynote speaker will come up at that time and speak. So we have Jo Ray Perkins, who is speaking for Donald Trump. We can wait. We have Mark Callahan for U.S. Senate, Art Robinson for U.S. Congress. We have Daniel Crow right here, and he is for the State Attorney General. And we have a couple that didn't show up, so I won't even mention their names. We have Andy Olsen for State Representative for Oregon District 15. We have Paul Cawthorn for Benton County Commissioner. We have Jerry Jackson for County Commissioner. And we have Tim Daney, and he's for the Green Party. So we're glad to have him here too. Okay, if you guys had sit down, and we'll let, and as the chairman of the Oregon Republican Party. Okay, our keynote speaker will be Andy Olsen, and then after he gets done speaking, we'll have the other candidates come back up here and give a few minutes, to speak and to talk about whatever they need to talk about. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? So I move around? Okay, so I'll just...
left and right of the tree, maybe.
Okay, how about if we get right in here? All right. Well, hey, I just really want to... I'm not going to share a whole lot, but what I do want to share is I want you to walk away from here, because Dennis and I, we'd worked together for 10 years up there in the legislature. He's going to have some good stuff to share with you, just not on behalf of his position, but also what's happening across the state. I want to share with you a little bit about what's happening on the House side, because that's really encouraging. First of all, I just want to say thank you for all of you who are here tonight. I want to say thank you so much for this is my 7th time I've been running. And I don't have an opponent this year. I don't know what the deal is with that. But, I'm extremely grateful for that. And for those of you who have always been faithful, who have always worked hard, and there's a number of you that I know that have always been there. I mean, from when it was my rookie season back in '04, that you were there with me, and you were probably thinking, what is he doing? I just want to say thank you, because with that, you bring that heart, you bring that integrity, you bring what the values are that I believe that are consistent with what the founders of this nation brought. If you think about that for a moment, and we really need that today more than ever to stay consistent and to get us back on track of where our nation's going right now, but specifically Oregon. So I have 2 little quotes I want to share with you and spin off of that, and then I want to share some neat things with you. But Governor Mike Pence said this, and I don't know how many of you caught this when he first got announced that he was going to be the vice president with Donald Trump. He says, history reveals that weakness arouses evil. America needs to be strong.
Right, yeah.
See, our party, a conservative movement, our values that we share from what the founders of this country brought, that's the strength. That's what we need today. And then this last one, and this speaks volumes for me for those of you who are all running. And this comes from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He says, silence in the face of evil is in itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. That's tough. That is tough, but that's exactly where we're at today in our nation. That's specifically where we're at today in Oregon, because there's got to be times I feel like I'm in a petri dish, and you've got to too, being in Benton County. But someone has got to take a stand. Someone has got to chip at our foundation. Someone has got to share what the truth is. And see, that's what this is all about for those of you that are here tonight. As for those of you who have been challenged to run. So I just say thank you. Now, on the House side, I'm really encouraged. We have, right now, on the House side, a 35-25 count. 35 Democrats to 25 Republicans. What I want to do there is for us to reach 29. I've talked with the leadership at length about this, because if we pick up 4 seats, and we have some great candidates across the state, I got to tell you, if we pick up just 4, but I think there's potential to pick up more, but if we get 4, we get to 29. That changes the landscape up there in the Capitol. So what do I mean by that? You've got enough conservative Democrats on the other side of the aisle that if we work with them, we change the speaker. I can't have the speaker that we have had for the last 4 years. I mean, if you think what's happened, they have brought 30-hour sick leave through Senate Bill 454. They have brought the minimum wage, shoved it down our throats, and it continues. We can talk at length, if you want to, about ballot measure 97 now. What's happening with, it's going to be the major mother of all taxes against your C corporations. Well, what is that all about? To me, I say it's about as hard left as you get, because let's take from the rich and give to the poor. That's not how we do things. So, what I want to do, though, is I want to encourage you and leave you with a real special thought. We are in a position of getting to that extra 4 people that we want on the House side, and possibly more. Just this last Tuesday, I had invited somewhere between 8 to 12 different business folks from the Mid-Valley, from Corvallis over to Lebanon, to come into the Albany Chamber of Commerce to sit down with 2 of our candidates. One of them was Lori DeReamer out of House District 51, she's the mayor in Happy Valley right now. Boy, she's a knockout candidate. And then the other one was Yvonne Tecoris. She's a mom. Her husband owns a business, and it's Oregon City. That's House District 40. Those 2 women came down. I wanted those business people to get to know who they were, because I'm putting big bucks on that, and I want them to be a nucleus for us to move forward with this 4, even though there's just 2 there, but there's others. Here's the encouragement. The business folks that were there got it. They liked what they saw, and those 2 women left to head back up to the Portland area, both with about $18,000 each.
Wow.
So that's encouragement. They see that, and hopefully it's that kind of momentum that happens across the state for the others that are running here tonight. So I just want to say thank you so much for what you do. Don't stop. Don't feel defeated. Keep digging into the foxholes and fighting. We'll chip at the foundation. Thank you.
So Joe Ray. And the next one after Joe Ray will be Mark Callahan.
Okay, we're gonna hope we don't get any feedback, so that you guys, so we're not hiding behind the tree and we've got a post. Okay, so Joe Ray Perkins and I am the team captain for Trump for President here in Oregon for Lynn and Benton counties. My job right now is to get volunteers to help us with phone calling using the program called Trump Talk, and we'll be calling targeted voters. And it's the primary mechanism for outreach, and it'll be interfaced with a computer. So the user, all they have to do is turn on their phone and it's going to start dialing for them. So you don't have to do anything. You'll have a script, and I need volunteers, lots of volunteers. Many hands make light work, and we're just talking maybe even 30 minutes an entire week. I prefer an hour, but we've got a goal of like 2,500 calls per county I believe it was per week. So we've got a lot, but with the calling program that they have, it is extremely doable. I will be trained on it the first part of this week, and then I will be doing training after that. And as far as calling goes, we'll be able to call from the Lynn County GOP office, and I'm presuming from the Benton County GOP office. At Lynn County, you just need to come in with your laptop, and we've got Wi-Fi, and you can get hooked right up there. Or if you want to, you can call from home, although we like the synergy of getting together with other people calling. So I'm going to pass around a clipboard down both sides of the table, so please sign up, make it legible. All the information I need is right on there. And real quick, the Lynn County Republican Party, sorry, I'm going to steal this time here. We have our raffle drawing coming up. I've got tickets. We are selling a maximum of 500 tickets at $5 a piece. One winner will walk with $1,000 cold hard cash in the form of a check. So I've got, I think, 12 with me. That's all I've got left. And so if anybody wants those, I'll be here all night, folks. And so I think that's it. Oh, I want to dovetail up to something that Andy said real quick about being here in Benton County. Last year while I was out campaigning, I was down in Lane County, and I realized that people in Lane County missed something. Out of their 5 commissioners, 4 of them are Republicans. I want you to understand how huge that is in Lane County. 4, that's 80%, are Republicans. If they can do that in Lane County, we can do that in Benton County, we can do that in Oregon. And Oregon is not blue. We just have a lot of conservatives that have been sitting on their hands. So we need to be talking to everybody. So don't give up hope. We can win, and I'm behind every one of you guys. And to Mark Callahan, I got to know Mark, come on up. I got to know Mark when we were running against each other for the U.S. Senate, and we've become really good friends over the past couple years. And I'll tell you, this is one of the most, he's got such high character. I cannot speak highly enough about Mark.
Well, thank you, Joy. As Joy stated, my name is Mark Callahan. I'm running for the U.S. Senate against Ron Wyden. I've been out there on the campaign trail a lot. I've been going all over the state. I've been down to Florence, been down to Coos County here this last weekend, putting a lot of miles on the car, eating a lot of fair food. And had a really good bacon-wrapped corn dog the other day at the Washington County Fair. So I did 5 fairs in one day over in northeastern Oregon. That was actually kind of fun. It wore me out. But I would like to tell a couple stories from the campaign trail that I've come across here. And it relates to who our nominee is for President of the United States, so we'll get it. I went to the RNC convention in mid-July, and at the convention we got a Trump swag bag. And it was a couple cups, a t-shirt, a couple hats, stuff like that. So just as an experiment, I live in East Portland myself. And I went to Walmart with my Trump t-shirt on, thinking that I would get sneers, you know, possibly a immature gesture or something like that. But the opposite actually happened. The opposite actually happened. So 2 people actually came up to me and said, "You're voting for Trump?" because they saw the Trump t-shirt. And I said, "Yeah, I'm voting for Trump." And they said, "Good job, we're voting for Trump too." So I'm thinking, okay, this is and then no one came up to me in Walmart. I didn't see any bad faces or anything like that in Walmart. This is Walmart in East Portland on Sandy over there. And so a couple days later, I had my Trump bumper sticker on the back of my car. I've since got another one. I haven't actually put a new one on there yet, but I had the Trump bumper sticker on the back of my car. I was in the Costco gas line in Salem, fueling up for a trip down to Southern Oregon. And the guy pulls up behind me. He's in the gas line as well. And I have my sticker on there also, and have the Trump sticker on there too. And he gets out of his car, he comes up to my car, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's coming up to my car here, and I don't know who he is or what side of the fence he's on, whatever, you know. But he comes up to my car, I roll down my window and said, can I help you? He says, I'm voting for those two guys on the back of your car. And I said, okay, well, I'm one of them, Mark. But, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, the word is getting out there. People are getting tired of being sick and tired. We need something new. We need something different than what's been happening over the last 8 years. There's a lot of Trump supporters out there that may not be as visible as the other side, but we're out there, and we're going to get out and we're going to vote this November, and we're going to put Donald Trump in the White House. I'm here tonight to talk about my candidacy as well. Basically, as I said, I've been really busy on the campaign trail. Been doing parades every weekend. I've been meeting a lot of great folks. I actually went to a meeting last night, the East Portland Action Plan, and I can tell you that group is not a Republican group. I was one of two Republicans there, but and I introduced myself. The independent guy that's in my race was there also, and I think I actually got a better shot than he does. But not to feather my own nest or anything, but basically, one of the messages my team has been putting out there, and it's actually been getting a lot of traction with the other side, in addition to the Republicans as well I talk with, is the fact that I describe my background. It's good to describe your background as a candidate on where you're coming from, what you can actually add to the job. So my background, as you may know, I'm an IT guy by trade. I've been doing computer work for the past 16 years. And so I market myself on the campaign trail as a troubleshooter and problem solver. So just generically, what I've been talking to the left and the right about is just generically, say there's a problem to solve. Well, there's different ways of solving that problem. There's the Democrat way, there's the Republican way, there's the independent, the Green Party way. Oh, I guess it's technical difficulties. The Republican way, Democrat way, Green Party way, independent, libertarian, whatever. They're all kind of surrounding this nebulous problem, right, to solve. Well, too often, the parties come up with solutions in terms of solving the problem, their way of solving a problem, and they fight with the other parties about how to do it, and the problem never actually gets solved. So what I get out there, I market myself, as I said, as a problem solver and troubleshooter. I get in there and I say, well, I'm not going to fight with the other parties. We're all Oregonians here. We're all Americans here. We all know that there is a problem to be solved. Let's just solve it, as opposed to fighting with the other parties to find out what the best way of doing it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that's actually been getting a lot of traction. I offered that story to the other candidates in case they want to use it as well, because we as Republicans need to get in there, because we're conservatives and we have the right mindset on how to solve those problems. My name is Mark Callahan, as Joe Ray said earlier. I'm running for the U.S. Senate against a 35-year career politician, New Yorker. Those are the facts, and we need to remove him from office this year. Thank you. May God bless America.
And we have Art Robinson, and he is running for U.S. Congress.
Oh, yeah. He's a good man.
Thank you. I think most of you have heard me give more political talks than you're anxious to consider enduring today. But I brought some of these books. Most of you have copies, and if you don't, please take one off the table. It says about all I have to say about the political atmosphere. I thought I'd use my time, my couple of minutes, to mention something about our country. As you know, we're engaged, all of us, whether we're running for a county office or a state office or even more, in an attempt to save a constitutional republic on a democratic playing field. The playing field is very corrupt, very wrong, but it's the only one we've got, and that's the one we have to win on. And it's useful to think about what has been done already to our country, because our people have been taught that rather than living in a republic, they live in a place where 51% of the votes gives you the right to vote away your neighbor's life, liberty, and property. Right. Of course, that isn't the conditions of a republic. But how far have they gotten so far? Well, I'll mention three things. One, our stock market. You know, the stock market is very volatile today. Speculators actually smooth the market, but ours has become very volatile. Something people don't realize is that government and government agencies own half the stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. So they already have ownership, socialist ownership, of half of our industries and businesses, large ones. Secondly, when you mortgage your house, you get a mortgage. Some people get mortgages from local banks and they're kept there, but most mortgages are repurchased by the federal government. They hold the deed to your home. Unless you're able to pay it off, they own your home. The federal government holds the deeds to almost half the homes in this country. And thirdly, of course, we know the problems we have with our public lands. Public lands accept their government lands, and we should obey the rules that they make. How did they get these things? Well, they bought them. They bought them with the tax money. They taxed us, both directly and indirectly, through money printing. They bought our land, our homes, and our industries with our money, and bought them from us. About half of everything we have in this country that we're proud of today, the government owns, and we must not let them own the other half. And the only way to do that is to go back to the rules of our constitutional republic.
Right.
The situation is dire. I hope that we can win. If you need a Trump sign, I brought half a Suburban full of them up here. Every time I come north, my sons are making signs for 75 candidates now, and including Trump, and somehow I got half a Suburban of Trump signs if you like them. And we will continue to help in every way we can. I think we have a good chance in this election. Mr. Trump just changed his campaign staff, and he's got the best people in the country working for him now. And I think we have a great opportunity. But if you haven't read this book, please take one with you. It'll make me feel good if you at least take it away. Give it to one of your children to read, especially if he's homeschooled. He may be able to read it. And thank you for having me.
And we'll go for the Oregon State Attorney General.
I don't think anybody's ever accused me of not being loud enough, and so I probably am not going to need artificial amplification. But I did want to come here today, and first of all, thank you all for coming out. It's a beautiful day, and it takes a lot to come out of here on your own time and share this with us, and allow us to share our message with you. The Attorney General of Oregon is responsible for making sure that people follow the law, including people who work for government. And that's critically important because that's something that we've lost. So first thing I'd like to do is share a little bit with you about where I'm coming from so you can better decide whether or not you can repose your trust in me. So I grew up on a farm outside of Mount Angel. My parents were both truckers. My path carried me to West Point and then through Army Ranger School and into service as a combat arms officer until the Army came down in its wisdom and said, you're going to go to law school. And I spent the last 2/3 of my career as a judge advocate. I truly didn't understand what it was that I was defending until the 15th of April of 1996, when my daughter Anna was born. Anna had some problems and some challenges, and those resulted in the fact that she didn't say her first word until she was 3 years old. She didn't get into a wheelchair until she was 5, and she didn't get out of one until she was 11. And the two things that I learned from Anna and from her brother Thomas were, first of all, how important it was to me to be their dad. And second of all, that there is no limit to human tenacity. So what Anna taught me particularly was that you can fight through anything. And that experience informed and empowered me to follow the path that I needed to follow in the law as a judge advocate. And that empowered me to become a criminal defense attorney and try courts-martial, to make sure that the government followed its own rules. It allowed me to be a prosecutor and a district attorney in the military, to make sure that somebody stood up for victims. It allowed me to be a legal aid attorney, and then to be an attorney who worked at the Office of Military Cooperation in our embassy in Cairo, administering the $1.6 billion that we give per year to the Egyptians pursuant to the Camp David Peace Accords, and work in U.S. European Command, where as a lawyer for that 4-star command, I managed the European Command, the DoD's Human Intelligence Policy, Human Intelligence Program in Europe, including Russia, and the Counter-Narcoterrorism Program. I was lucky enough, after I retired from the Army and came home to Oregon, that I I was able to build up in the Metro Public Defender's Office the Veterans Justice Project. And I spent the last 5 years building a capability that covers veterans statewide who struggle with homelessness, addiction, and mental illness, particularly as a result of their combat experience. And that's critical work that we've done. And part of what I want to leave you here today is one of the things that we helped push through was what's going to be Measure 96 this coming election. And that's going to create a Veteran Services Fund, and it's critically needed to assist our veterans. It's going to take 1.5% of net lottery proceeds, and it's going to devote it to veteran services. My background for almost 2 decades was providing impartial, non-political, non-partisan legal services for the public good as a soldier. And that's exactly what I'm going to do as Attorney General. So let's talk a little bit about Ellen Rosenblum, because this election is a referendum on 2 very different visions of the role of Attorney General. Ellen Rosenblum, the incumbent Attorney General's vision of what we have an Attorney General for is to advance the interests of her party and of their political patrons. That's what she thinks the custodian of the machinery of the law is. I disagree. I believe that the loyalty of the Attorney General of Oregon should be to the law and, ultimately, the law's source, which is the people. So that's my vision. And this election is a referendum on which vision is going to prevail. We all know the disasters, the corruption, the incompetence, and the malfeasance that Oregon's labored under during one-party rule for the last 25 years. But what many of us don't know is that the Attorney General has been the mainspring, the linchpin of rotten government in Oregon. Because every lawyer who works in Oregon government ultimately answers to the Attorney General. So what the Attorney General does is, through her lawyers, she provides the fig leaf for Democrat mismanagement, corruption, cronyism, and theft. And that's got to stop. Because the Attorney General, as I said, my vision is that the Attorney General is loyal to the law, not to party. Okay? So we all know these crises that have afflicted us. $300 million spent, wasted, not building a website. $200 million wasted, not building a bridge across the Columbia at I-5. That's $500 million. And at the middle of that incompetent contract was this Attorney General. And the middle of these open-ended personal service contracts, where most of that $200 million went, was this Attorney General. We know that Governor Kitzhaber resigned 544 days ago. It was this Attorney General who claimed that she didn't have the authority to investigate a governor who was being hounded out of office. And because she wasn't willing to hold him accountable, we have a cascading series of scandals in Oregon government. So we have the Black Lives Matter scandal, the Occupy Roseburg scandal. We have a Department of Human Services that can't tell us how many of Oregon's 8,000 foster kids over the last 20 years have been subject to physical and sexual violence, because it's not his job to track that. And similarly, we have an Attorney General who's turned a blind eye towards it. Turned a blind eye towards lead in the water of our schools and not held the Department of Environmental Quality accountable. The Attorney General shouldn't be turning a blind eye to all of those crimes and misdemeanors, but should instead be putting people in jail who aren't doing their job. And that's what I'm going to do as Attorney General. Our Attorney General is responsible for 3 things that touch on every one of our lives on a day-to-day basis. And it's easy for us to overlook that. The Attorney General is responsible for investigating and, when necessary, prosecuting public corruption. The Attorney General is responsible for reviewing every contract and agreement that Oregon is into to make sure that we get our money's worth. And the Attorney General is responsible for being an honest arbiter of the ballot titling process. So the last thing I want to share with you is something that Oregonians for Immigration Reform, Cynthia gave me a button yesterday. And this is the ballot title. I'm going to read to you the ballot title of the proposed ballot for English as an official language in Oregon. Now, whether you agree that English should be the official language of Oregon or whether you don't, tell me whether or not you think this reflects honesty and integrity in being a custodian of the machinery of the law, without which none of us are free, and without which all of us operate under arbitrary rule, because we either have the rule of law or we have arbitrary rule. So this is the 15-word ballot title that was proposed. They didn't write it, obviously. Oregonians for Immigration Reform didn't write this. This was written by the Attorney General. Changes state / quote subdivision close quote open parentheses undefined close parentheses laws regarding English / other language use and requirements semicolon exception semicolon authorizes lawsuits. If any of you want to read that again, you can come and take a look at the button afterwards. The point is this. The Oregon Plan was developed by William Simon Uren from Clackamas County. And it was developed, and it's the recall, the referendum, and the initiative. And it was invented by Oregonians to balance the power of machine politics. It was invented by Oregon Republicans specifically to balance machine politics. Just tell your progressive friends that progressivism was invented by us. Okay, and they just screwed it up. The point is that the ballot titling process, if it isn't done with integrity and honesty, then our people aren't able to exercise their rights under the Oregon Plan. And I will note that the Oregon Plan has spread. It's called the Oregon Plan for a reason. 37 states now have the initiative, the recall, and the referendum to balance the power of professional politicians. The Democrats have hacked this system. And they've hacked it by getting the Attorney General to prostitute herself to her party. So when you look in your voters' guides and you look at the ballot title, the result of yes vote, the result of no vote, and the summary, they are, and just think back over the last couple of elections, they're incomprehensible. There's no way to know what the heck you're voting for, what the result of a yes vote is, and what the result of a no vote. And this ballot title about English, the official language, is just par for the course. We've all seen it. Right? It is meant to frustrate the people's ability to rein in the worst excesses of the political professional class. And the Attorney General is the linchpin. So it is critically important to elect Mark. It is critically important to elect Mr. Trump to the presidency. It's critically important to elect Dennis, wherever Dennis is hiding. Where are you, Dennis? There you are. Oh, you're behind a post. It's critically important to elect Dennis. It's equally critically important, and all the candidates are here today. I'm just stopping with Dennis because he's awesome. It's also critically important that we control the Attorney General's office. Because if Dennis wins, and Bud wins, and Jeff Goodman wins, the Secretary of State, the governorship, and the treasurer, respectively. But we have a Democrat Attorney General. That Attorney General will hamstring our abilities to do genuine reform. So I'm asking for your time, your talent, and of course your treasure. We've got contribution envelopes right over here, and I look forward to speaking with any of you after all the rest of the candidates are finished, because this is the work of all of us together. Thank you so much for having me today. Oh, I turned it off.
I noticed that there are a lot of veterans here, and I would like to see all the veterans stand up. There was at least 12 to 14 of you there standing. It's wonderful, wonderful. Dennis, would you come and speak now? And this is for Secretary of State.
There's a lot of candidates and a lot of things that need to be said, and so what I would like to do is just give you a little insight into the first lesson that I learned about politics and how that could affect our politics today. So 45 years ago, I was flying helicopters in Vietnam, and when you were taking a group or making a mission, you're going to land in a bad area, you don't do a normal kind of glide slope, because when you're close to the bottom, you're going low and you're slow, and you become a target, right? And so what you did was called high overhead approaches. And so one assignment I had was to pick up a dozen people from a village and bring them in so that they could be questioned. And so I'm bringing them into this landing zone, and you do a high overhead approach. And so you come in high over the landing zone, and then you put the aircraft into a very tight turn, and you come down like a corkscrew and land. And so you have your exposure to the enemy fire is very low. Well, I didn't stop to think about who I was carrying, and that they've never ridden a bicycle before. Their idea of physics was if you put water in a bucket and you bend the bucket, the water pours out. And so I begin this high overhead approach, and I'm paying attention to where the wind is and my instruments and all those things. And I lay this helicopter over on its side and start coming down, and they're looking down. They're sitting on the floor. They're not strapped in. And they're looking at the ground. And they're thinking they're going to just slide out and just fall all the way down. And so they start screaming. I mean, they're terrified. And I'm hearing all this in the background, but I'm busy trying to make sure that we make a good landing. So I make a safe landing. We touch down right where we need to, and they go piling out of this helicopter out to the ground. We want to kiss the ground because they're so grateful to be alive. So I thought about it, and I realized, I have the authority. I'm the aircraft commander. I'm the officer here, but it's not enough to merely have authority. You also need to take responsibility for how you use that authority.
That's right.
And so we do not have that in government today. I'm running against Brad Avakian. Now, Brad Avakian, some of you remember, he's the guy who had the authority over wage and hours as a labor commissioner, and there was brought in a situation where a couple had, it's a mom and pop bakery, and they had decided they didn't want to bake a cake for a lesbian couple, and this was before the law was established, really, in Oregon. But instead of going out and explaining what the story was and what they should be doing, and maybe giving them a small fine, this guy tagged them with a $135,000 fine and put them out of business. And he wants to be Secretary of State. And after that, he wants to be governor. And we've had enough of people who think that because they have authority, they can use that authority against the people to promote their own principles instead of being the public servants that they swear on the Constitution and by their oath to do. And so I'm asking for you to support me and let us stop this now. If you will support me, we will stop this now. My pledge to you is to restore accountability, transparency, and integrity to the office of Secretary of State, to the second highest office in this state, and to expose corruption, waste, and abuse, which is prevalent, and do all that needs to be done to help extinguish it and to stop it from continuing. We need accountability, transparency, and integrity in public office, and I'm asking for your help to let me help establish it. I'm Dennis Richardson. I want very much to be your Secretary of State, and it's up to you to not only give me your vote, because you know what? I bet I've got most of the votes here tonight right now. But it's can you do something to help influence those who don't vote? Do you have a Facebook page? Or do you have your followers that you could share with? Go to Dennis Richardson for Oregon on Facebook, like me, and then when I send out information about what's happening, share it with your people. Help the word to cover this state like a blanket, that there's a new person who can be an honest and honorable representative of the people as Secretary of State, and that you're not going to stand by and just let another election go by. This is the time for us to do all in our power to have an influence, to make the change that can help restore the normalcy, the moderateness, the fairness, the constitutional government that Oregon was known for, that our pioneers established, and that we've lost. This is our time. Please help me and the other candidates that you trust to help lead our state back to where it was intended to be. Thank you.
Will Paul Cawthorn, who is running for County Commissioner of Benton County, come?
Wow. I'm pretty inspired by everything I'm hearing tonight. I'm very excited about what's possible. And so I'm Paul Cawthorn. I'm running for Benton County Commissioner. I'm running against Annabelle. You probably know Annabelle. And she's been in office for nearly 16 years now, and I think that's long enough. And people I'm meeting also think it's long enough. So I'm surprised at how many people I encounter and tell them who I'm running against, and that's usually enough right there. But a little bit about me. So my family settled in Benton County about 170 years ago. Some of the first settlers to the Corvallis, Benton County area. And I grew up kind of a combination between farming communities and also Eugene. My dad worked for Simplot Soil Builders. I spent a lot of time with farmers at the fertilizer plant. And I heard a lot about, what they were going through, the struggles they had. And I've always appreciated that. I moved back to Corvallis about 4 years ago. And I ran into a couple things. I had rosy images of Corvallis and Benton County. And some of those have gotten a little bit softer. But so why should you vote for me? Well, the reason you should vote for me is because you should look at what I've done in the last couple of years, and that's the kind of thing that I will be continuing to do. The City Council of Corvallis unanimously passed a parking ordinance that was very unpopular, and I saw that the public wasn't being listened to, and I filed a referendum. I got the signatures. I spent a lot of money, my own money, to make sure that the voters had a say in it. And 61% of the voters sided with me against the City Council. And this is one of those things that a lot of people in Benton County or in Corvallis didn't even think was possible, that the citizens could stand up to the City Council. And currently there's some other community members that are pursuing some other initiatives, so it's made a step forward in accountability. I've also helped protect farmland. EFU farmland was at risk along Highway 20 between Corvallis and Benton County. The county was wanting to run a bike path, and they were ignoring the farmers and not really even understanding what the farmers even do or how they farm. It was shocking. And I did some research. I found that the county had misrepresented their ownership of the property to get state lottery funds, and I brought that to the attention of the OTC and ODOT, and we got them to put a halt to it. But that's was a momentary halt, because they're still pursuing that bad idea, and that was one of the reasons I decided to run for office, because I was seeing that Annabelle is out of touch. She's out of touch with the whole community, but she's also out of touch with even the Democrats in her party. She's the chairperson of the Democratic Party, and she's also the Clinton delegate. And 61% of the Democrats in Benton County voted for Bernie Sanders. They didn't vote for Hillary, and so she's not even representing her own party's constituents. And so she's definitely not representing the rest of us. And I would really appreciate your support, and hope we win in November in a big way.
Paul did something unique. He had a mural painted on the highway toward Albany on the left side, and he's got brochures here. I believe it even says that same mural that's on there. That's great. Okay, Jerry Jackson, running also for County Commissioner.
Well, I didn't think I'd need to introduce myself, but I was in the office working yesterday as a volunteer, and I was had one of the industry leaders for our timber industry come in and said, I'd like some Trump signs. And I said, well, you probably want a Jerry Jackson sign too. She goes, no, I don't. And I said, I'm Jerry Jackson. She goes, oh, that's nice. For those of you who know me, this is the 4th time I ran for county commissioner. It wasn't fourth time to lose, it's 4th time to win, because I learned so much since I started running for county commissioner. I was ready. I thought I had the experience. I ran. I lost. I worked on it some more. I lost. I worked on it. I think I should have won last time. I lost. But the Democrats have handed us what it takes to win this election this time. We've got everything from Ann Schuster, the other commissioners, other counties tell me she has no clue what she's doing. Okay? We've got the Democrats handed their Democrat candidate a loss because they didn't support, and that's a no-no in the Democrat Party. You support your candidates. So I'm now going to be running against Zan. Okay, you follow Zan, get on her Twitter account, let her send you some Twitter feeds. Zan has the vision to increase our land use laws to the point where we will not be able to do anything in this county except for conserve the land.
Wow.
We're all conserving our lands. Oregon has one of the toughest land use laws in the United States, and I'm one of the people that enforces that. I'm a code enforcement officer for Polk County. I enforce the land use laws at all levels, and I'm very fair. You do something wrong in Polk County, you get an education. You don't get a punishment. And that's what we need to do in this county. We need to work with our landowners, and we need to work with our farmers and our industries to make sure that our industries thrive. We also need to work with OSU. I went and did some research to find out how many interns could I work at Benton County as a commissioner from that university. I was told 21. We could have 21 people from that university coming down from, example, Portland inner city. Go work in the motor pool. Go work as a secretary. Go work so that you have something to walk away from the school with. You get an education. You also get some real-time experience from us, and thank God they want to stay here. We want them to stay here. Come and get a job, to use those skills we taught you, use that education you got at OSU, and bring that skill in here. Let's stop hiring people from back east. We're hiring people to run this county $150,000 a year to do the job the commissioners should know how to do. I don't think Paul and I need somebody to be telling us how to do our job. We both are going to know what we're doing. So I want to make sure you know me, okay? I come from a family of 6. I have a lovely wife. We have 6 children between us. I was in the U.S. Army, was recruited in the Old Guard, so I worked for 2 presidents in their unit. It went on. I spent 2 hitches in service, cut out. We raised our family. I've been a city councilor. I've been a school board member. I've been the city council budget president for quite a while. I gave myself to you. I brought the skills to you so that I could be your next county commissioner, and I ask you for your vote. So thank you very much.
Is Tim still here? Tim from the Green Party? Oh yes, there he comes. And then I'd like Bill Courier to think about a way it's kind of closing it up. And then I have 9 take-home boxes. So if we have some leftover food and you'd like to take some home, for like $10, you can have that whole take-home box filled. We don't want to have any waste.
Well, I have to admit, I'm Paul Cawthorn's opponent, but I also want to see Annabelle out of office.
Yeah.
Okay. And I must tell you something I've told a few of you. Bud Pierce just got some extra votes today in the Statesman Journal because of the article talking about Kate Brown supporting the TPP. And I hope everybody here doesn't support the TPP. Otherwise, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at. Okay. And accountability, transparency, excellent stuff that Paul has going on there. Okay. And my issue, though, is water. I went to the meeting of the Alpine Community trustees or group, whatever they're called. Anyway, they're going to be having, and they had the water resources folks down, tell them about all of this along Alpine and Bellfountain and everything. You're on the edge of the Coast Range, and there's a lot of fractured rock along here. And so one person right here could have really slow water. The person right over there could have really fast water. And so there's issues with water everywhere you look around you. There's a place, I hope everybody that goes north goes up Bellfountain, because there's a place there right at Water Lane, of all places, they've carved out the hillside so that once it starts raining, it's supposed to rain in about 4 days, I'm waiting to see, that hillside is custom made to be flowing down across Bellfountain and into the property below. Because apparently somebody talked the lady there, an elderly lady, talked her into selling the land to them, and so they bulldoze it clean, and I don't know what kind of development they're planning, but the folks in Alpine are rather upset about it. And check out the 2 issues ago, so I guess it was July 1859, the cover story is The Future of Water. And for myself, there's all the other issues pale in comparison to water, because without water, and we're all doomed, but we do not know where, unfortunately, we do not know where our water is, how much water we have. We don't know where the soft spots are, because if there is an earthquake, a lot of these fractured areas are just going to slough down the hillside. Happened up there above Lewisburg, that house that slid down the hillside up there, and it just drives me crazy. You know? But unfortunately, I grew up in Washington, D.C., so I grew up with a lot of craziness back there. And I'm sorry, but that's why I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and I am a Green Party member. And I went to the National Green Party Convention, and I rode the Greyhound there and back, and I'm still recovering from that. Okay? But along the way, I encountered some very strange things, and I saw the homeless issue up close and personal. I'll tell you what, the first signs I saw for president were all along the corridor coming up California. It said Farmers for Trump. Why Farmers for Trump? Because of the water issue. Okay, so keep hammering it home that the water, that's the most important issue that all of us have together. So, thank you. I appreciate your time.
He's not only the mayor of Adair, but he's also chairman of the Oregon Republican Party. Thank you.
And just a sec, he gave the best explanation of ranked choice voting I've ever heard.
Okay. Couldn't try it again. I'll just leave it at whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this without the mic, and since I get to wrap up, and since I was glad to get off my bottom, I'm sure you will be too. So I will remember that and keep it fairly short. You know, my excuse for being up here is that I'm running for mayor. I'm right behind Andy. He's starting his 7th. This is your 7th, right? Where's Andy? He's already gone. Andy is would be entering his 7th term. I'm entering my 6th term, and if I'm elected. And so that's my excuse to talk, is to talk a little bit about running for mayor. It is a nonpartisan position, so I'm gonna, if you'll indulge me, I want to talk a little bit about the candidates that came before me, more in my role as state party chair. You know, I don't know what you were thinking as you were sitting there listening to our candidates, but I couldn't be prouder of our candidates overall. We have an excellent lineup of candidates, and we have an excellent opportunity in 2016. If you think about the strength of our candidates, how articulate they are, how experienced they are, how focused they are in the functional aspect of the job that they're pursuing. Think about Dennis Richardson or Daniel Crow that spoke about the responsibilities of the Office of Secretary of State or Attorney General. These are not people that are politically driven with an agenda or an ideology. Even though they're Republicans, they are driven to serve the people of Oregon and bring about fair and even-handed approach to governance. And this is a critical element in our election with the mood of the voters this cycle, because one thing you'll notice, if you've been paying attention, is that voters are looking for outside candidates. They're looking for non-career politicians. And a part of that, a big part of that,
I was just pointing at my daughter and telling her to sit down.
Oh, okay. Maybe I should use the mic. A big part of that is whether they consider the candidate to be genuine or not. When you listen to our candidates that just spoke, did you get the impression that they were genuine? Yeah. They are sincere. And voters across party lines right now want to see that in the candidates. That's one reason why Bernie Sanders had such an appeal that he had. And that's one reason Republicans from the national level on down, especially for our statewide races here in Oregon, are looking for something a little bit different than they had in previous elections. And that is Are they genuine? You know, Bernie might have not had the ideology or the perspective or the values that we share, certainly not the outcomes that we were looking for in terms of governance, but he had that genuine appeal. And Donald Trump is perceived as having that genuine appeal. And he's perceived by many of the Bernie supporters as not being a Republican. Now, you might feel that way as well, for some of you. But here's the deal. He is our nominee, and he was selected by the largest number of Republicans in the primary process of any Republican candidate in the history of our party. So we cannot ignore that stature, and we cannot ignore the will of the voters. And I know, one of the things I wanted to say as I was sitting there thinking, wow, people come to me all the time and say, boy, this candidate, this Republican candidate is flawed, or this Republican candidate is flawed, or that one's flawed. And I think, compared to what? You know, are you saying that in the case of Trump versus Hillary, that character and honesty are less important than benefiting personally from your public position? You know, is character more important and honesty more important than personality? And by the way, I'm not saying that Hillary has a good personality. Don't take that wrong. But what is it that we're contrasting with here? And so we have to make a choice. It's a binary choice. It's not a more than two choice. You know, we're in the general. It's a one or the other. And so when people talk about flawed candidates, I think, you know what? Every candidate is flawed, right? Every party has perhaps elements in their platform or candidates they're running that are not perfect. And any candidate that says otherwise, we know is probably not a good candidate. We have a choice to make. We can't even get along with our spouses sometimes. We would say at times that our spouse or another family member was flawed. You know, we have to look at our candidates as being part of our family, sharing most of our values. Because if they don't share our values, then maybe we're not in the right party, right? Or maybe we're not putting our energies in the right place. But if we believe in Republican principles and conservative values, and we believe that the candidate in front of us will do the best job of the available choices to advance that, then that's the choice in front of us. And so I think we have a wonderful lineup overall. I listen to these candidates and I think, wow, they can do a really good job. And with the mood of the voter this cycle, looking for that outside, sincere candidate, if they continue to articulate the way they have, we will have some wins. Did you know that Dennis Richardson is up 5.4 points over Brad Avakian? Yeah! We haven't seen that situation in over 25 years here in Oregon. Bud Pierce, our gubernatorial candidate, is within 1.5 points of Kate Brown in the polls. 1.5 points. We haven't seen that for ages either. So these people are doing incredibly well. Our candidates are latching on to the issues that matter to Oregonians. Measure 97 concerns a lot of people. It should concern every consumer. It's going to raise the cost for every consumer in Oregon by $600. Every man, woman, and child, regardless of party affiliation, $600 or $1,200 to $1,800 for the average family every year for nothing in return. Not a better environment. Nothing. No improvement other than more money, $3 billion every year for the legislature to spend as a blank check because it's not even been specified what it's going to be used for.
Not even a fixed PERS, right?
Not even going to, they claim it'll fix PERS, but it's not even targeted for PERS. They can use it however they want, and believe me, they will spend it on their pet projects if the Democrats are in control, or we don't have that 28 or 29 person number in the House that Andy talked about earlier. They will spend it on all the pet stuff first, and then claim at the end, we don't have enough money for education, we don't have enough money, maybe even for PERS or whatever it might be. So it is not a solution to just take more money from the people as a blank check, and we have to oppose that. I share the enthusiasm of the candidates that came before me, and I'm excited in my role as state chair to support these candidates and to promote them statewide as we meet in various places around the state. They are so articulate and so talented and so capable to do the job in front of them. And the voters can't help but see that. We are going to win in 2016. We won't win every seat everywhere, but we are going to pick up seats in the House. We have a really good chance of picking up at least 1 or 2 in the Senate. We have a chance of picking up 1 or 2 statewide seats. I'm confident of it. And so we are on the path in the right direction to as some people say, turning Oregon red. But I want to say this one thing before I finish. I didn't say anything about being mayor, but that's all right. Is that we are not a red state. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Who was that?
Blue state.
Or excuse me, we're not a blue state. That was you, Joe. We're not a blue state. It's about 30% Republican, 30% Republican, 32% non-line and everybody else, and 38% Democrat. They're not in the majority. They're 38%. It's not a blue state. We can pull most of the non-aligned voters our way, especially on fiscal issues. And that is the focus of this election, if you've noticed. We're not being framed by a whole bunch of other distracting, divisive issues. We're talking, and the campaigns are all focused very much on the functional aspect of the job, and that's what voters seem to care about this time. So, I'll just end by saying 2016 is just a platform or a jumping off place for 2018. We're going to have even bigger wins in 2018. And thank you for everything that you're doing to help make that happen. Talk to people in those terms, and we will win. So.
We also have t-shirts over here, Republicans on the move for $10, and the food over there for $10.
Okay, so before you go, I want to thank everybody for coming. I have my chair hat on here today, Benton County Republican chair hat, and I'd like to thank Carolyn, Bob, thank you, and everybody that helped you put this on. You did a wonderful job. I thank you. You're great PCPs. I'd like to introduce Julia, and Julia's family's here. She's the new PCP chair. If you don't sign up tonight to work in the office, stop by the office and sign up. We need all of you to work in the office so we can have it open long hours. There's things to do, people to meet, and votes to get. Thank you very much.